This is a Podco original.
They picked up directly that night, like from the same scene for season 2. I'm still in love with you. Nothing's changed. And she's like, ugh, I can't do this right now.
Have we let go of Noel being A? The girls go to therapy in this episode.
So cool.
And you never hear about this stuff in the news. You never will.
No. You're in a silk shirt.
You are also in a silk shirt. We're in matching silk shirts.
How do your nipples feel?
My nipples feels great because I'm actually wearing a bra that is.
You're wearing a bra in general.
No, but it's see-through. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's very thin. Blush lingerie. Okay.
Do you like to wear bras?
I have to wear them. I actually don't feel okay without one because, contrary to popular belief, these knockers are huge.
But they're not as big as I think mine are. I'm like it's funny. I thought my whole life I was a C.
Yeah.
And then they
Did it?
Yeah, actually fitted me correctly because sometimes I'd always get bras and then at the end of the day, my boob would pop out of them. I'd be like, it's not compact because I'm the wrong size. I'm a size double D.
I actually think I might be that.
Yeah, and when you do too small, the cup size is too small and they just flop out.
Yeah, they do.
The big old.
I mean, mine's still in here, but.
So it's still in there right now? It's good to know.
So you're wearing your silk shirt too. Are you as hot as me?
Sexy?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think I am.
I knew that literally the second I said, no, that would never be my question.
Physically hot.
Physically.
The older I get, the more I'm not okay with temperatures in general.
Right.
Like I can't deal with too hot, too cold. I don't want I think it's because life might get harder when you get older. So I don't want any inconvenience.
Right.
None
it
whatsoever.
Takes my energy away from the triceratops I might have to fight later.
Do you wish the dinosaurs were still here?
The dinosaurs are still here, baby. Rock never dies. No, I of course wish that the dinosaurs were still here. Look, I don't want anybody to have to go through what they went through. That wasn't cool.
Yeah.
All right.
But we're just sitting here and we're like, oh, take cover. The T-Rex is pissed.
Right. Right.
But weren't their legs so big that they could just come directly into a building?
Right, but that makes me think, how was their eyesight?
Because they wanted to miss the building?
Well, no, just because if you're given all these other strengths in all these other areas, why would you then also have great sight?
Yeah, that's true.
If you can obviously pummel me very easily, you should be blind or something. You should be blind. You should be China. You should be blind. Yeah.
You should have some issue to make it a fair scale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. What were we just talking about? Sometimes my brain pops like that and I think it's early Alzheimer's.
I think it's just too much caffeine.
I'm just too stimulated and too hot.
Stimulated and hot, if you put that out of context, I feel like we're having a conversation about another thing.
Right, and it would be such a great topic, although I'd have very little to contribute.
You just have to remain calm.
I'm sorry, what?
You just have to remain calm.
Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. I kept saying remain calm to Tammin early, and it took 3 people to inform me that she was saying calm.
You don't pronounce the L.
It's called calm for a reason.
Do you say calm?
No, but I say calm. I almost ended the L. Calm.
So I'm going to say it one more time. You have to remain calm.
First of all, you're calm. Anyway,
okay, episode 1 of season 2.
Right, it's season 2.
We've gone to season 2. It's alive.
That's crazy.
I loved the finale of season 1.
The finale was
bananas.
Perfect. Loved that.
Love that. So now we're on season 2.
But the last thing we found out, Ian, who was A is still contacting her.
Yeah.
Them.
Yeah.
So A's not dead.
I think there's a few loopholes in this story or things that we're just supposed to believe that just don't make any sense. He's dead. We see him hanging on the bell.
Yeah.
completely and utterly
Dead.
dead.
Yeah.
Comatose, gone, lights out. And then he's gone, which I can believe that, but now he's not dead? Like he just passed out?
Right, because now the body's gone. Like, where is he?
Where is he?
Where is he? Did you go and lift him up out of there? Did Jenna go and lift him?
And it happened so quickly, and you don't see anyone, and there's just a few things that definitely don't make sense.
Yeah. Unless he was just like passed out and then woke up.
And then shouldn't you, if you killed someone or if you thought you killed someone, wouldn't you just like not be able to function? Like that's a big deal. And everyone's kind of talking about it like, well, Ian's dead.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay.
Ian's dead. Like
Ian's dead. Would you like grilled cheese?
Yeah,
Ian's
it
dead.
has no effect on Spencer. I guess because she's not the one who killed him,
Right.
you know?
And if she did, maybe it would feel a lot more.
And it was either her or him. So, I mean, I don't know how much you feel.
Yeah.
Like, if it's really between, I'm not worried that it went your way. But
But then there's Melissa.
Mm-hmm.
And Melissa is her sister.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, if you were part of the murder of your sister's husband, I mean, that's a big deal.
Right. And she's just talking to her in this, like, he's dead, Melissa.
Like, just get over it.
Like, I don't
she's
know what
like, almost lost
She goes,
the
I don't know.
baby.
She goes, I don't know what else you want me to tell you.
He's dead.
He's dead. He's not coming back.
And I did believe, because at the beginning I was like, where's Melissa's scene? Like,
Right.
where all of a sudden she's had a car accident. We don't know if she's lost the baby. And then I'm thinking, where's Melissa's scene where she shows how awful this situation is? And we do get that scene, thank
Yep.
goodness, in this episode. We do
With-
get a scene where
with
she's
her and
sitting with her
Spencer.
mom and Spencer's there, and we do see how devastated she is.
Yeah. Yeah, we do. And we see sort of in the later episode when she comes to talk to Spencer how heavy the situation is on her, and the fact that she doesn't really even trust the police right now.
I know. And then there's this one line where she says to her mother, you have 2 daughters, but you only protect one. Guess one is a complication. And that speaks so many volumes to like who Spencer is as a human being,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, it does. She just feels eternally scorned, and I wonder if that's sort of what her overachiever thing
Mm-hmm.
is. You know, she doesn't get any of that recognition at home.
Mm-hmm.
She's kind of a home wrecker.
She does a lot of home wrecking things.
That's how she gets back at Melissa, I feel like, for all
The
you know
stuff
what I
that
mean?
she can't say.
Yeah.
She can't say it outwardly, so she's doing it in a way that is it conscious or subconscious?
Both. She has inklings of it at the back of her conscious mind.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I feel like. I feel like it used to be, and now she sees there's a pattern. She's too smart not to be. She's too self-aware, I feel like, not to start to pick up on that pattern in
How would
herself.
you feel if you had a sibling and that was the shining child?
I can't even fathom it.
Mm.
I've been an only child my whole life.
Hmm.
Not only that, but the aunts and uncles on the side of the family that I was really around didn't have kids.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was sort of like the only one. I've always had this thing, like, even when friends came over and my mom kind of gave attention to other people, I would not be okay with it.
Wow.
I had that only child syndrome really bad. And I had to work through jealousy and things I have about not being either having the most attention or this or that, or, you know, knowing that my friends are going to still be there if something else brings them joy other than me, you know, like my whole identity is kind of wrapped around the attention and being heard. And so I can't imagine if that was being overshadowed. Maybe it would make me go in a totally different direction. Maybe I was thrust into the spotlight and don't even want that. Like, I'm not sure. It's such a interesting question, but I truly have no basis for how to answer it.
And maybe you would find in a sibling someone who got you. Because the whole thing about siblings is like you have.
Wait, do you have a sibling?
I have 2 halves. So I have one
okay.
from, so my brother's from my mom's first marriage and my sister's from my dad's first marriage, but I grew up with my brother. So I grew up like my whole life, he was with us. And I was a child actor. So, you know, the one thing that I will say that is so great about my brother is he never, at least he didn't externalize it. He never came across as jealous of my career because my parents had to put so much attention into me because I was so young. So they had to come on set, like, you know, there would be parties at bars and my parents would have to like pick me up afterwards because I was underage. So they would just really had to fly with me certain places. They really protected me in that way. And my brother never was like, what about me? Well, at least he never said that. And there is a 4.5, 5 year age gap. So I guess when I started acting at like professionally at like 14, 15, he was kind of already out of the house. So maybe he was just living his own life that it didn't really affect him. But I think about it now and I go, ooh, did the fact that I was well known in you know, in Australia, did that affect him? Yeah. But it must be hard. Sibling relationships.
And your sister, you don't have much of a.
She was in South Africa, so that's where I was. Yeah, so she's been with her mom like the whole time. I don't have much of a relationship, but I don't know what it'd be like to have like a full blood, because I see my kids together and they love each other so much, and they also like punch each other in the face. So it's like, oh my goodness, I've never felt so comfortable to like think that I would do that with someone.
Right.
You know?
Right. You want me to start doing that to you and you do that to me?
I just like to love you and then punch you in the face.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, what is next? Ezra asks if they are over, right? And Aria's like, I don't know.
What is up with this whole? I thought he was supposed to go to the call. Like, why is he still here?
Yeah.
Was it? They picked up directly that night, like from the same scene for season 2.
Yeah.
Now, do you think that they just shot one full scene and then split it up and put it? No. You think they came back, recreated all of that?
No. I think they probably did it in one day.
In one day, right?
Unless she looks, and you probably noticed, like, does she look different? I mean, she looks pretty, she always looks the same, but it would save more time if they did the whole thing. I
think so too. I just feel like they lopped off that end and knew where it was going to go. The girls didn't look any different. Yeah. You know. Anyway, so yeah, no time has passed. So I guess Ezra is not going to his job at the college yet. There's some kind of notice that he's given,
but she feels different because she thinks that, oh my goodness, you know, they've now been able to break down the fact that Ezra was still in love with his ex, and she broke it off, which is a huge detail, because if someone breaks it off, you would have stayed married.
Yeah.
But like, Aria's so miffed by it. She's so miffed by the fact that he had a love before her. Like,
17-year-old twit.
You're just like don't.
Wait, what do you mean? I'm not the only person you ever loved. It's like, are you okay?
Yeah. And then it's like, well, things have changed. Yeah. And he's like devastated by it.
He's literally like, I don't even want my Hollis. No, I'm just kidding. But he's literally like,
I know, I get it. But looking at as an old fart that I am now, I go, really? Like, everyone's got a history. But remember when you were 17, there's not much history.
No.
You don't have a lot of dating history.
Right, but I also don't go like, I don't tell a man 6 years my senior, well, you have more life experience than me?
Yeah.
Like, what?
What do you mean? So, yeah, I don't understand why she's so, but I think that the writers had to do something. They had to create some kind of tension.
Yeah.
Because if they don't create tension, then there's no pull, there's no give and take.
And honestly, the way it's just so melodramatic with the way he's like, I'm still in love with you. Nothing's changed. And she's like, ugh, I can't do this right now. Yeah. Like, walks out of his English class.
She's like, everything's changed.
Like, it's so pedo at a certain point. It's just like.
Yeah. I know. I feel like.
But I'm still in love with you. I can't do this. I have to go to third period.
I have to go to third period. Oh, okay. I think this is, Melissa doesn't know where Ian is, and she doesn't think he's dead.
Right.
She thinks he's just
a fart in the wind somewhere.
Fart in the wind.
Name that movie.
In the movie?
Fart in the Wind. Name that movie.
Airplane.
Up and vanished like a fart in the wind. Shawshank Redemption. Go on.
I love that movie.
So good.
Yeah, so he's a fart in the wind somewhere. Where?
Where? I feel like he's like in your lair convalescing or something.
Yeah, right. Just with Jenna.
Just,
And he's like kind of happy, and she's like sewing him up like all the wounds. And she's like, I know I can't see. Did I hit the right spot?
she hits an artery.
He's like, no, to the left. To the left.
But
Yeah,
like,
where is
really,
he?
where is he? And like all the in the beginning of the episode, all the moms call the girls down because they're like, you guys need help, or like,
Yeah.
which I think is a conversation that should have had happened earlier. I actually
Yeah.
think it's a great conversation to have in there because the parents are like, I don't feel like you're totally out to lunch.
Yeah.
And that you do give a shit about your parents. I see what Nolan means when he wasn't really, there wasn't much for him to do in the scenes.
Yeah.
He was great in what he was in, but if that's yeah.
all you get to do, you come in and just say a few lines.
yeah.
It's hard for an actor to do, and it's not an ego thing. It's just as an actor, it's like telling a runner in a marathon to only do like don't finish the race.
Right.
It's hard for us to go, wait a second, so I'm part of the race. I get to start the race, but then I watch everyone else run. It's difficult.
It is.
And it's not an ego thing, it's not a narcissist thing. It's like hard to do something you love, but not really get to do it.
Right. Right. And get to do it in just this very boxed in kind of way. Like there's you know, you're not the, I feel like our characters had a little bit more because I was like in the love thing, and you really drove a lot of the mystery
Story.
plot and your own you know, relations with Toby and all of that, and like dating and kissing everybody all around town, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, so yeah, I saw what he meant. If you haven't checked out the Nolan episode, check it out.
Check it out. Okay, Caleb is back because Lucas brings Caleb back to see Hannah.
Can I tell you, this was the strangest car ride because we started it, which I get. All right, they picked up directly back, right? But they started it with them driving at night. They end with them driving back like to Rosewood. They get there in the day, and then there's a line. Obviously, they ADR'd it that said, "Thanks so much for the hotel," and he goes, "More like a motel." And I'm like, "Did you guys bone?"
Yeah.
But can I be honest with you again? Lucas,
Are you ever not?
Lucas's reaction when he says, "Whatever you did to Hannah, don't do it again." The way he avoided the trap of "if you hurt her, I'll kill you." You know what I mean? Like he avoided the trap of that. It was so sincere. It was so
based on
self-sacrificing.
love, yeah.
But he wasn't victimized. He wasn't angry. It was so sincere. Like moments like that really hit me because I'm like, that's brilliant. Like that's really brilliant work.
And I think he did his work of breaking down like it's an unrequited love. Like I love this person and I'm doing this for her because I love her.
Right.
And I'm, don't feel bad for me. Don't feel sorry for me. And I'm not mad at you
Yeah.
for getting to sort of live the life that is my dream of life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like him as an actor.
I
I like
think
him as a
he's
person, and I
fantastic. I'd love
definitely
to have
like
him
him as
on.
an actor. He'll definitely come on. I have his number. I have his number. What do you think about Noel dating Mona? What is that? 'Cause
First of all, from him being here, he looks, I mean, I get it, but he struck me as the most baby face in that short sleeve button down.
like compared to now.
Yeah.
He's like
that
a man.
short sleeve button down with the tie is the funniest look to me.
Yeah, he looks so young.
Yeah.
He looks so young.
But I think it's a really cute pairing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's interesting.
Have we let go of Noel being A?
I think so.
Like in everyone's mind?
Right? Yeah.
You just think he's like a douche.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think him getting busted at the school for those midterms was his evil streak or whatever.
Right.
Even though he does know probably the girls and details, I don't feel like that was the road they were leading us down with that. He just really was trying to manipulate for a grade. Is that what we got
Did
in the end? Or
he
no?
ever say in the episode we had with him who he dated in real life?
Oh.
Okay. So then I won't reveal that because that's his story to tell. But I do think they have a good chemistry.
Because of that?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think so.
Wow.
Now everyone's like, tell us. But then you also tell us to not reveal. So we are going to do what you ask us and not reveal.
And not reveal.
And
here's the thing. I want to say, like, recently there was a clip that we did with Ashley Benson where we were talking about a couple of the nights on set when we had to stay late and she wanted to leave. The reason I'm laughing at that is because that is the funniest situation to me. And watching it and remembering it back, it was just a silly situation to me. You are begging to get off of the show
because you want to go meet a guy.
Because you want to go meet a guy who you only had the opportunity to be around because you were on the show. Like, to me, there was a lot of things that go with it. I don't think I was spilling any of her tea by saying that was a really silly night that I know she would look back at and laugh. And it was just ridiculous. We were all tired, and the way Lisa handled her was hilarious.
I know, and sometimes when things are taken out of context and little snippets get put up, you're like, "Oh, that's not in the context of what we were actually talking about."
That's like one of my favorite memories of Ashley. She like that girl would be happy to know like that you're still laughing over something dumb that she did. You know what I mean? We all did.
That we've all done.
Yeah.
I mean, if we can't laugh at ourselves, which is still like we're 22. I think sometimes too there's very minimal comments about things that we've talked about when we're 22, but that's what, like, this is almost 15 years ago. That is where you grow. And again, we've talked about this before. The cancel culture doesn't let anyone learn and grow. And I think it's just ridiculous. I mean, obviously, if you do something so horrific or if it's anything to do with like the Me Too, of course, yes. But if you've said something because you're not educated enough or then educate yourself.
Right.
Get the opportunity to learn and to educate and take on the constructive criticism and change and grow. Like, where is that anymore? And that's what I get a little nervous. My daughter's 10, 11. It's like, oh no, you're done. Oh no, you're done. It's like, but we didn't have cell phones like we do now when we grew up. So we did a lot of dumb shit.
Oh my.
I'm so glad that I didn't have a cell phone.
You're done. What do you mean? I should just go and kill myself? Should I go and jump off a bridge?
Like, what does that even mean?
What do you want me to do?
Like,
what do you want me to do? You want me to
like,
not go to the grocery store anymore for food? Like, what do you want me to do?
Instead of being like, so just so you know, X, Y, and Z, and this is how maybe you should handle it next time, X, Y, and Z, you should look into it. Very interesting. Great constructive criticism.
Right. Unless I killed somebody in your family, you do not have the right to tell me to kill myself.
Yeah.
Okay?
Oh my God.
You don't have the right to do that.
And it doesn't even have to get to that level.
Yeah.
It's just going to get to a point of
that's harmful.
Anything that's just like you don't like. I mean, where is room for growth?
Low vibing shit.
Yeah.
And it's just like I don't know.
It's really scary too that I feel because in Australia I get some really rank headlines. And it's not in context. Like I said, I got my brain scanned because they found out that I had ADHD. Surprise, surprise. They scanned my brain, and the doctor who's like scans brains and could see that like certain parts of my brain were lit up. Like my frontal lobe was too lit up, which like is about anxiety and things like that. Not depression, but anxiety. And he said, well, the thing is, it's very traumatic to be famous very young because your brain doesn't grow at a typical rate. It actually grows too fast. You get too much dopamine too fast, so you fall into like the road of addiction and all these different things, and anxiety and depression, mental health issues. So I wrote a whole post about that, and in it said, because fame, he told me that fame is traumatic. The headline was, Tammin says that her being famous has been trauma for her. Which just makes me look like a douchebag. It is so out of context. And here's the problem with that. People just take that as fact and run with it without any context. Context is so important. If you're going to make a comment on something, listen to the podcast.
Yep.
Like, read the article.
Yep.
Like, make sure you know what you're saying before you vomit out an opinion.
Right.
It's even in politics. Don't say something unless you are read up on the actual fact.
Yep.
Right?
Yes.
Because then we are now perpetuating like all these things that just isn't reality.
Yep.
And then what is even fact?
Seriously. And where do we get back to a baseline? So you've told me how to break us down, MK Ultra, the government in the fucking 50s. So you've taught me how to break a person down, but how do you build them back up? That's what you're missing. You're leaving all these parts at a used junk, like build them back up.
Yeah.
We are supposed to leave people better than we found them. And that doesn't mean we get it right on the first try every time. It means we encounter that person and our interaction with them, and we do it till it's whole.
Right.
You know, you don't do it until your narrative can be fulfilled. You do it until the situation is taken care of.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand what is so, like, and I guess that's me learning with like therapy and just being honest and feeling like going back and fighting with somebody is worth anything that you, like, it's worth it. It's worth rocking the boat for me, always. Always. On a big level, on a small level, on a familial level, on a friend level, on a societal level. Like, I am very much wanting to push the bounds, but also to leave you better.
Right,
you know,
right,
I want to
right.
ask you things that might cut through some of that scar tissue or something
Yeah.
and leave you better.
Yeah.
I was way worse at that in my 20s when I was just on drugs, but the intention was still like, the intention was mixed with the fact that I wanted to be high and I wanted attention, but I also just was like wanting to
I don't think you
leave
want
people with an
attention.
impression of,
Yeah.
I wanted to leave people with a piece of me.
Right.
And that's like, it's like, yo, they don't need to take a piece of you to their grave. It doesn't need to be the most entertaining
Right.
thing that they've ever seen.
don't need to
You don't
always
be
show
so brilliant. And
face.
so
Oh, I know.
whatever you think of
You always have
yourself
to
being
perform
brilliant.
for people because when you
Exactly.
get breadcrumbs when you're little about like you are now so important when you perform and you are so worthy when you perform, then you spend your rest of your fucking life trying to make people entertain people.
Yeah.
I feel like if I'm not on 24/7 that I should be ashamed of myself. Like I need to
Yeah, I
always
have been.
vibrate at a specific level at all times. And that's what I meant by that comment. Like fame is traumatic. It is traumatic because when you learn very young that you are loved by what you do, not who you are, you will carry that for the rest of your life. And that's why so many people who are entertainers are really fucked up because you're constantly trying to figure out who am I without work? Who am I without performing? Who am I without making people love me, right? Anyway, we just went on a whole tangent. We just went to church.
Ooh, baby, I needed it.
You
That was
know?
good. I just needed it.
I don't think
it is like, it's painful to be misperceived. That's just what it is. And in the kind of ways that I feel like I've been misperceived, like those are stains on my character forever. And while I know the truth about those things and while the people I care about know, that isn't all that matters. Not in my heart and not in the way things are. Like, I want to be a resource people can look to, if like not for perfection, but just for like dealing with things as they are.
Yeah, and they should
right
look
here.
up to you and go, you know, sometimes if you see one comment that says, oh, Lindsey shouldn't talk about when she was on drugs. And I think to myself, that's what Lindsey should be talking about because there are so many people out there right now that go, I'm not going to get out of this. And then they look to you and go, but she did. When I had a miscarriage, I looked at all the other women that talked about their miscarriages because I was like, oh, they made it out. They made it out. They have a baby. They're going to be okay. And I needed that to know that I was going to be okay based on their story. And you got out. So there's so many people who are struggling right now that go, well, if she did it, I can. So never stop talking about your story because one person or two people don't want to hear it anymore.
Yeah. And it's like, you don't think that I want a new story, a new narrative. You don't think that I want to speak in a different, like, I don't want to still have that be my story. And in the process of trying to write a new, better one, those are my frame of references. Those are lessons that are still hitting me in waves, becoming this new person that I am. Like, I only have one story. I can't make another one. It's not about telling it from a different perspective. It is what it is. And that telling that story helps me grow the self-esteem to write this new one every day. Every time somebody says, like, thank you for sharing with that, like, that means everything to me, dude.
Right,
That makes me feel like me actually being an actor and being up here has a purpose.
Right.
That I'm not just fucking here. And that's what Paige taught me most of all, was how impactful art can be.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
Like on this beautiful community. And also how impactful it can be on me. I had never experienced that sort of like exchange with the audience in that way ever. And so I felt, you know, damaged, but really responsible for giving this, for being as truthful as I could in the circumstances, you know?
And you said something, I don't think you took drugs for attention. I think you took drugs, and maybe I'm wrong, because you were so afraid of like sitting with you, because I'm afraid of it, to sit with yourself and just figure out who the fuck you are. And so drugs is such a great way to escape. So workaholic, me being a workaholic, I don't have to sit with myself, right? I can just keep doing, so then I don't have to be still. Because if I'm still, what the fuck am I gonna find?
Right.
And I think that's drugs for a lot of people, is like, how do I just disassociate from like who I am as a human? Because that could be painful, and don't we all wanna like run away from pain? Isn't that the main goal in life, is to get away from pain?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Wow.
Well, I love that, and I love
I
you.
love you.
I love you. Okay, we should wrap up this little episode.
Very good.
Okay, Toby comes to Spencer. Is Ian dead? The girls go to therapy in this episode.
So cool.
All 4 of them.
I think that's really cool.
And then Hannah turns up late.
Yeah.
And they're like,
So good.
we waited for you. And
The way
like,
she says,
shit.
damn. Like, at the end of that scene was so good. I love that they're in therapy. I hope that there are more. Are there more?
There's a couple.
Okay. Because
They
I think
get
that's
kicked
a
out.
great outlet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's cool that they're like, oh, should we say something? Should we say,
Finally.
should we tell?
There has to be some.
Do we have to, can we tell someone about this?
Yeah.
You know, so I like that. Melissa still doesn't know where Ian is. Nola's dating Mona. We said that.
Ashley finds out that Mona ripped up the letter. She wasn't for sure on that.
Yep. Oh, this is a really big plot point. What are you naming your baby? Right? Remember in this episode?
Yeah.
This was really good. So this is when we find out that Ian's still alive.
Because she said we.
Because what happens is Spencer was talking to Melissa, and Spencer said to Melissa was like, we've got a name for the baby, and Spencer says, what is that name? And she said Taylor, because it works for a boy and a girl. And then right at the end, they're texting like Ian's phone, or what they think Ian's phone is. I think I have this right. They get a message, right? There's a phone, and I think maybe it's Melissa's. I'm so sorry if I'm getting this wrong, but there's a message that says, you have to be quiet. You have to keep everything safe or whatever. I'm going to come back to you. So we're assuming it's Ian. So Spencer writes, how do I know it's you? And the text comes back, ask me anything. And Spencer writes, what's the name of our baby? Pretending to be Melissa. And he writes back, Taylor. So in that moment, we assume, or we think we know, that Ian is actually alive.
It's alive.
It's alive. And that's pretty much how the episode ends. They do the button. A is in Emily's room, and we see like his hands deleting some files on her computer, because remember, Emily is going to have to leave because the mom wants them to get out of town for a year to go to Texas, because the dad is now in Texas.
Right.
For his work in the military. So she's going to have to leave. So they have all these people coming in and out of the house. And they can't. And so someone comes into the house, who's A, and deletes all the files on Emily's computer.
My question is, were those thick-fingered gloves difficult to like type and find? But
and who did it? Who do you think was, we should ask Marlene if she ever comes on, who was the person who had to do the A stuff?
Let's get them on, but only shoot them from here down.
Yeah, just A.
Yeah.
That should be a last episode, just from here down.
Yeah.
Of like A.
I love that.
Who do you think it was? Like Oliver?
No. He wouldn't be. You know how many times it was the one staying late on Friday? There's no freaking way,
It
dude.
had to be like not a director, but someone in production.
You think? Because they always had to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so funny. We got to ask. Also, speaking of things, well, this episode was called It's Alive. Now let's throw it over to somebody who doesn't work with so many alive things, Joseph Scott Morgan.
Hey, Joseph Scott. Joseph Scott Morgan.
Hey, what's happening, y'all?
I'm barely recovered from your Elvis impression last week.
Oh, I know.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you weak-kneed.
Ooh. But you know what? I'm not complaining.
Weak and need.
Oh,
There you
man. So here we are on another
show.
another episode of PLL.
Here we are. We're back, man.
You know,
Back,
I don't know
baby.
if people liked the episode that we did this, but I thought it was really fascinating when you said that the cases that are the weirdest are the ones where people are doing some kind of sexual act and then they pass away.
Yes.
Yep. They
I can't
pass
stop
away
thinking. I can't
all the
stop
way
thinking
away.
about the snorkel. I have not been able
The
to stop thinking about the
snorkel
snorkel
with the
since we
golf
talked about
balls?
it.
Yeah, that one's kind of mild.
That
But,
is-
you know,
Wait. You said that one's kind of mild.
yeah.
So what
Yeah,
is
it
not mild?
What is not mild?
Yeah, what's not mild than a Persian rug and 2 golf balls?
3, 4
Or and a snorkel.
with a full body wetsuit on.
I know what to get you for Christmas. I was going to send him
A snorkel.
snorkel,
No,
some
gee.
golf balls.
No, I'll take golf balls. Please don't send me a snorkel. That's very intimate.
Yeah, well, I meant for golf, Joseph.
Well, okay.
For
Yeah,
the
the golf
putting
balls are
green.
fine. Yeah, as long as I can. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just make sure they're not Jack Nicklaus Golden Bear ball because that's what those were. Make sure you don't do that. But yeah. So
This won't hurt a bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so then what is the weirdest? What is
Tammin's
your
been
top weirdest?
Dying to know another sexual case
No,
from
I
you.
just want to
Like,
know what your
dying.
weirdest is.
probably one of the things that really stands out in mind. I actually had a case where a guy had he had difficulty. Let's see.
Let's see.
I'll put it to you this way. He wasn't going to the doctor to get any kind of ED assistance. He decided to do this on his own. And so, and it involved a mop handle. And when his wife would leave the house,
mop
he
handle.
would, he would place the mop portion of the mop in the corner of the room.
Okay.
And he would lubricate the end of the mop handle and insert it. And he apparently had practiced this for some time, had been doing this. So his wife had stepped out to go buy groceries. She went to the local supermarket. And when she came home, she found him naked in the kitchen on the floor. And he had impaled himself rectally, where it passed through his peritoneum, where he fell back, slipped and fell back onto the handle itself.
Oh.
And he died as a result of internal bleeding. And that was one of the more striking cases, I'd have to say. For me at least.
How devastating for the wife.
Yeah, and
Wait. I don't.
having-
Wait.
She's like,
What
break this down.
do you mean that was trying to help erectile dysfunction? Like,
Because the
Well, he
handle,
was stimulating. Yeah, he was stimulating his prostate, and so that's one
and
of
then
the
it
ways
fell
that-
in. He wasn't. No,
yeah,
he
he
slipped.
fell back on it. He actually
Okay.
fell down.
Okay,
We
so he's just
determined,
riding
and-
this thing to stimulate his prostate.
prostate.
Exactly.
Prostate.
Exactly.
You're like, I'm flustered. I'm
I'm
flabbergasted.
I
I can't put the words together.
Oh,
Yeah, and it's imagery that I can never get out of my mind. And listen, I'm just one guy. For every one of my colleagues that's out there that's either hung it up at this point or they're still practicing, everybody has a story that might not be exactly the same, but it is as striking. And you never hear about this stuff in the news. You never will, because it would, as horrible as that is, it's not going to feed the beast of the news business. But we remember, these events along the way, and I think that we know what circumstances people are capable of putting themselves in, and they don't really consider the consequences, what's going to happen. And I don't know. I mean, truly, I'm not necessarily defending his actions, but it may have been something that he couldn't talk to his wife about relative to his inability. Well, she did tell us that he had ED, and that she had urged him to, purchase the little blue pills, and he hadn't. And he may have received some kind of joy from this. I don't know.
I'm going to be honest with you. He didn't. I'm not going to speak about anything about the dead. That is a tragic story.
It's just a really.
I'm sorry. You were trying
It's
to
just
stimulate your prostate, but not for your wife.
But yeah, I know. But here's the thing, like, what a really embarrassing way to die.
Honestly, if I'm gone, I don't give a crap. I didn't live that, self-esteemable
It's
level life. It's all good.
I felt sorry for his wife because she discovered him, and that's always the thing. And most of the time, regardless of the manner of death, the causative factors or whatever, when you're sitting there with a person across, and this is a real human experience they're having, you're not having it. You've just kind of borne witness to it. You don't know all of the things that have led up to this after years and years and years. And suddenly it's come to an end there on the kitchen floor with the mop that you've been mopping your kitchen floor with. And there your husband is, and he's impaled on it.
Is she devastated?
You see that kind of thing. I'm sorry?
How do you know? I mean, it's probably obvious that he did it to himself, but then how do you know? Because again, the forensics behind it, I guess. How do you know that it was an accident? You know what I mean? Like, are most sexual acts like this accidents? Because, I mean, you would assume.
Excellent question. Yeah, that would be classified as an accidental event. But if you think of like a chart and you have sexual related deaths, they have. You can drop down all of these different brackets for, you can have natural events because people do in fact, have heart attacks in the midst of sex. That's happened. I've worked those cases. And not just, I think that we talked in an earlier episode about, the guy that showed up at the hospital with his wife's underwear on, the tampons inserted. But there are actually cases where people will, be engaged in sexual intercourse, and it's not just limited to men. You have women too that will actually go into cardiac arrest during the event. And it's sad, but that does happen,
like
and it doesn't necessarily have to be an elderly person either.
Right.
It can be somebody that doesn't know. They might just be overstimulated at that point in time. That happens. And so that's a natural event. It's not, there's no intrigue there. There's no kind of homicidal intent or anything like that. Then you have these accidental things, and that's a whole subcategory that we work that's called autoerotic asphyxia, where people, and that kind of goes back to the guy with the snorkel, but I've had cases that, like the snorkel case was nothing compared to like a guy that I had that had,
yes,
he died a very painful death, and it was at his own hand, and it wasn't a suicide, but it was an accidental event based upon things that he had chosen to do to his body. And he had actually dosed himself with an aerosol spray that's actually used to numb. It has been used in the past to numb the gum so that people could do surgery on it. And it's an oxygen deprivant. So he'd put a bag over his head and he would spritz this stuff in the bag, and it would knock down the level of oxygen in there, depriving him of oxygen the entire time. He's got all manner of electronic devices hooked up to his genitals and things inserted into himself. And he's actually bent back on his knees, and he's wearing, what was really striking, I don't know if have you guys ever heard of a widow's bra before?
No.
I'd never heard of one. And this is probably back in the 80s I encountered this. And it is like a corset. They refer to them as widow's bras. And it was black, and it was silk, and he had pantyhose stuffed into the cups. And it was like really tight, just like really constricting on this guy. And I'd never seen anything like that. And I'll never forget, the electronic device was still plugged into the wall, and it was a hand massager that has straps on it, where the massagers actually, you could put it on your hand, insert your hand into the straps, and then massage somebody's back like this. Your hand literally vibrates. Well, he had twisted his genitalia up in this thing because it stimulated him, and he dosed himself with this thing, and he died of cardiac arrest. Well, we didn't find him for 4 days. And so this thing was still plugged in. And when I walked into the house, all of my friends that were detectives were kind of looking at me, and I'm thinking, why in the hell are they looking at me this way? And he was in the back room, And I started seeing, like, as I'm walking down the hallway, there's like cans of Crisco that are streaked with brown. And there's bits of like whole apples, like fruit, that are smeared with Crisco and brown stains. And, you know, you go back to the bedroom and he's dead there. And they're looking at me, I'm looking at them, and this thing is still running and plugged into the wall.
Still
and all
after
I can
4
think is
days?
they're looking to me to unplug it. And I don't know if this is like an electrical event or something. And I'm thinking, dear Lord, please don't let this be the last thing I see as I grab hold of this plug and unplug it, because I got to, you got to unplug it. And obviously I survived. But, you never know at any moment in time as an investigator what you're going to see when you walk through the door of any location. And that's why, even to this day, still, anytime I drive by a house, like at night,
Like, what is going on?
It's like in the window, the lights are down in a house, and every now and then I'll reflect back, and you're thinking, as you drive by, you're thinking, well, what's going on in there?
Yeah.
What are these people into? When you see it, and it's left up to people in my field to go in and try to make sense of it and try to explain it, because it's almost like you're going into an upside down world. And that's one of the things I always say, we're having to view the abnormal in the context of the normal, because you don't expect to see something like this in an apartment building where the guy has lived. He's obviously lived a life there. He's a computer scientist and all that sort of thing.
How was the smell in there?
I know, after
It's
4
bad.
days. And is that why
Fecal-ridden fruit?
Is that why someone called it in, because of the smell? Like, how would you?
He did not show up for work, and finally his mother was elderly, and that's a completely different story, because I had to explain this to her. And that is and she was elderly, lived in the South. I won't say specifically where. It wasn't in Louisiana, though. And I had to send police to her house so that she could, to get her notified. And I had them have her call me, which is what I normally do. And I'm able to convey this information to her over the phone. And in my arrogance, I use the term autoerotic asphyxia. Well, most people
Don't know.
have never heard that term. And I was young and arrogant and stupid. And of course, the next words out of her mouth, this is his mama we're talking about. But what in the world is autoerotic asphyxia? Thinking, oh my God, I've got to now tell this woman what had happened to her little baby. He was her little baby at some point in time. And, I learned a lesson from that about keeping my mouth shut and just giving people the basic information that they need to have at that moment in time. Because I can't explain to her, what her son was into. And there are these stories like this. I'm not alone in this. You'll talk to people in my field, and they will tell you that there are these events out there that just are mind blowing, that they've had to break down for families, or that they've had to try to make sense of, and you come away from it and you still haven't made sense of it. But people have questions at the end of the day, and you have to come up with a manner and cause of death. And there's nothing that you can do to get away from that, because you have to declare this person dead, and then you have to be able to explain legally how they died, not necessarily why. That's esoteric. You talk about what and how and when and all these sorts of things. Why we could have a discussion about why. We could do an entire podcast series on why, and you would still be chasing your tail at the end of the day, because your version of why is different than my version of why. And that's something that's very personal. And it's like, I don't, the old adage about, I don't explain them, I just report them.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the attitude that you have to take.
Joseph Scott, that was shocking. And
All right, if I can't get it out of my head, I can't
get it out of my head.
imagine.
I've visualized.
I can't imagine what your dreams are like. That's so.
They're good now. They're good.
Yeah,
you know why they're good? Because I've separated myself so far from it, and and now I teach people, and
Right.
So I've layered over that. But everything's cool, Life goes on, and so does death.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joseph Scott.
Thank
and we'll
you so
see
much,
you
Joe
next
Scott.
week.
Love you guys.
And
Love
you
you.
guys, we will see you later,
later,
bitches.